Tyran Stokes close to committing, but is Kansas leading? That's quite unexpected. Let's take a closer look. The 2026 recruiting clock continues to tick, and Tyron Stokes' name dominates conversations in the college basketball world. The five-star guard, considered the number one prospect in the class, is about to decide his future, and while Kansas has made waves recently, Kentucky still seems to be setting the pace. From the beginning, everything indicated that Stokes and Kentucky had a destiny intertwined. The homegrown talent knows the mystique surrounding the Wildcats program, and the arrival of Mark Pope on the court has only reinforced that bond. Pope has shown an impressive ability to connect with young talent, combining direct, modern communication and a collective basketball vision that instills confidence in athletes like Stokes. He represents the new face of Kentucky basketball, charismatic, ambitious, and forward-looking. Kansas, of course, hasn't given up on its pursuit of the spotlight. Bill Self's program has been using its track record of success and Taylor Kinney's active recruitment to try to turn things around. The effort is legitimate and shows how much Stokes is valued. Even so, there's a sense that Kentucky still has the advantage, an advantage built not just on trophies, but on identity. Pope has managed to recapture the sense of belonging that makes Kentucky a giant among giants. Oregon's interest, initially fueled by Stokes' ties to Nike NIL, seems to have faded, and Louisville and USC remain in supporting roles, with no sign of any surprises. Stokes, however, still keeps his doors open, a mature and strategic approach from a young man who understands the weight of his decision. The Notre Dame high school guard is the kind of player who transforms programs. Physical, explosive, and with an elite technical repertoire, he scores at all levels and impacts both ends of the court. He's the type of athlete who fits perfectly with Mark Pope's philosophy, which values versatile, committed players willing to take center stage in a collective system. Stokes' eventual commitment to Kentucky wouldn't just be another win in a recruiting cycle. It would be a symbolic affirmation of the program's rebirth under Pope. After months of adjustments and rebuilding, the new coach is putting the Wildcats back at the center of the college basketball map. There's no official date for the announcement yet, but the scenario is clear. Kentucky has everything it needs to turn this expectation into a celebration. The combination of homegrown talent, Pope's charisma, and the weight of BBN's tradition creates an environment difficult to overcome. And if history is any guide, when Kentucky is ahead, it takes more than words to knock them off the top. Could everything point to the Wildcats? Let's see. The new season is about to begin with a mix of optimism and responsibility, after media projections place the team second in the SEC standings, behind only the defending national champion Florida Gators. Despite not being at the top of the forecast, the Wildcats entered the season with plenty of reason to believe they can surprise, and much of that is due to prominence of Otega Owa, named SEC Preseason Player of the Year. Owa's selection as the conference's individual standout is a well-deserved recognition of the veteran point guard's impact in his first full season with the Wildcats. After making his mark at Pitt, where he was a key player in the Atlantic Coast Conference, ACC, Owa quickly established himself in Lexington. Last year, he led Kentucky in scoring, averaging an impressive 16.2 points per game, while also demonstrating versatility and consistency, scoring in double figures in 33 of 36 games. His game-changing ability and on-court leadership have made him a key player for Coach Mark Pope, who has worked to shape a competitive and resilient squad. In addition to being named First-Team All-SEC, Owa was also honored with a prestigious First-Team All-SEC award from the National Association of Basketball Coaches, NBC. This makes him the seventh Kentucky player to receive the SEC Preseason Player of the Year title since voting began in 1997. No other university has so many honorees in this category, reinforcing the legacy of excellence built by the Wildcats over the years. This achievement is even more significant considering that Owa is just beginning to make his mark at Kentucky and promises to deliver even more in the coming seasons. Another name worthy of note on the roster is Jalen Lowe, a newcomer to the program who is already recognized as third-team All-SEC in the preseason. Lowe, who led the Pitt Panthers with robust averages of 16.8 points, 5.5 assists, and 1.8 steals per game last season, brings experience and depth to the Wildcats' backcourt. His arrival represents a strategic reinforcement to complement Oa's dynamic style, creating a duo capable of imposing rhythm and pressure on opponents. The combination of these two talents raises expectations for the team's performance this season. Coach Mark Pope, who took over the program at a crucial time of transition, has demonstrated a clear vision of how to maximize the potential of his players. With his leadership, Kentucky seeks to cement an identity based on tactical discipline, teamwork, and the use of individual strengths. The trust placed in Oa and Lowe reflects his philosophy, which values both individual development and the growth of the group as a whole. Pope, known for his ability to connect with players and bring out the best in them, appears to be on the right track to return the Wildcats to the top of the SEC. The second-place finish, while not the top spot, should not be seen as an obstacle, but rather as an opportunity. Kentucky is surrounded by high-caliber teams like Tennessee, Alabama, and Arkansas, who are also among the favorites. However, the strength of the conference only increases the value of a potential victory. Furthermore, facing such qualified opponents throughout the season can serve as valuable preparation for the knockout tournaments, where the Wildcats have historically shined. Otega Oa's selection as SEC Preseason Player of the Year is a symbol of the respect Kentucky still commands in the college scene. Even against powerful rivals like the Florida Gators, who hold the national championship title, the Wildcats have all the necessary ingredients to make a splash this season. With a balanced roster, strong leadership on the court, and a coach committed to getting the most out of each player, Kentucky has everything it needs to exceed expectations and, who knows, reclaim its place as the SEC's undisputed protagonist. While all eyes are on Oa and his teammates, team spirit continues to be the hallmark of this Kentucky team. The atmosphere in Lexington is charged with positive energy, and fans eagerly await how this new generation of Wildcats will honor the program's rich tradition. Let's see how it turns out. Kentucky football's 2025 season has been a mix of challenges, adjustments, and a relentless pursuit of improvement. With Mark Stoops, a coach who has proven himself capable of molding resilient teams, the program is in the midst of a rebuild that has been difficult to develop. But the off-season focus was clear, bringing in players who could breathe new life into the Wildcats offense. With transfers filling key positions like tailback, wide receiver, and the entire offensive line, there was an expectation that this overhaul would result in greater efficiency and dynamism. On paper, it seemed like a solid strategy, especially considering the context of a team that has always prided itself on its stout defense and a controlled, almost methodical style of play. However, the start of the campaign has brought more questions and answers, with the offense still struggling to find consistency. The numbers are relentless. In categories like success rate, EPA per play, and explosive production, Kentucky ranks among the least productive teams in the country. The third down conversion rate, so crucial to keeping drives alive, is also below expectations. And when the team enters the red zone, their efficiency falls short, a worrying statistic against stronger conference opponents. For longtime followers of the program, it's clear these issues aren't new. But at the same time, it would be unfair to ignore the visible efforts on the field. Stoops, in his quiet wisdom, knows that improvement doesn't happen linearly. He acknowledges the criticism and cold statistics, but prefers to see the big picture. Not so much looking at a plan, what might look good on a chalkboard, but what we can execute, he said recently, in a comment that sums up his philosophy. For him, true progress lies in the small internal victories, in player growth, more precise playmaking, and building a collective identity that goes beyond the numbers. Kentucky has never been known for being a high-octane offensive team. On the contrary, its strength has always been in controlling the clock, establishing the run, and relying on a conservative approach. This style, however, demands perfection in crucial moments, something the offense has yet to achieve this season. Even so, there are signs of hope. The group of young players, many of them debuting in prominent roles, is gradually gaining confidence. They are learning to handle the pressure of competitive games, something that cannot be taught in practice alone. Furthermore, it's worth remembering that the schedule still holds opportunities for this progress to materialize. Despite the disappointing results so far, the season is not lost. There are upcoming matchups where the offense can find its rhythm and demonstrate the improvement Stokes mentioned. It might be naive to expect a complete transformation in such a short time, but football is a sport of narrow margins. A small adjustment here, an explosive play there, and suddenly the landscape begins to change. What makes Mark Stokes such an interesting figure in the college football landscape is his ability to remain calm in the face of adversity. He's not the type of coach who promises instant revolutions or makes empty promises. His approach is more pragmatic, based on hard work, patience, and a deep understanding of what it means to build a sustainable program. Kentucky won't be a team that impresses with offensive creativity or high scoring, but that doesn't mean it can't be effective in its own right. The challenge for Kentucky will be finding ways to maximize its strengths while minimizing the costly mistakes. The defense, as always, remains the backbone of this team. If the offense can keep up, even modestly, there's room for positive surprises. And even if the statistics continue to point to difficulties, Stokes seems convinced that the process is on the right track. The future may not be as bright as some dreamed, but it's also not as bleak as the statistics suggest. And in that middle ground lies the essence of what Stokes is trying to build. A resilient program, capable of weathering headwinds and continuing to move forward step by step. I want to hear your thoughts.